But if there were somebody in the room who were thinking of raping, and I was to ask them the question, if you were to sit down in a class held by a gender studies professor, surrounded by scowling lesbians, and you were told that the patriarchy is this cis-het-normative, patriarchal, oppressive, capitalistic superstructure designed to keep women down, was also contributing to a rape culture that means putting your hand on your leg is just a couple of steps away from violently gang raping somebody. It is as dumb as it sounds. Would you be put off raping? Has a consent class in a university ever discouraged a sexual assault ever? Has any consent class ever, anywhere, achieved anything except making men feel bad about themselves? We're perfectly happy to indulge therapy culture if it's for an approved minority. But universities are pushing all sorts of things about which you are not supposed to resist. Well, I encourage you to resist. I encourage you to resist with comedy, light, whimsical jokes of the kind that they can't get you on, because as long as you're twice as funny as you are offensive, which I think I've probably failed to accomplish today, they can't get you. No, I mean this stuff is ideology masquerading as caretaking. And it is fundamental, and you might think, well, what's the big deal? So I'm sure to sit there for an hour and listen to how it's bad to assault women. Well, yeah, it is. It's also worse to paint all men as potential sexual abusers, and it's bad to demean and delegitimize and trivialize a very serious thing by assuming that all men are sort of closet rapists. And if you, the real important thing about this, of course, is if you question it, you can find yourself thrown out of university. Like if you question a lot of things, you can be marked down. That's happening on American campuses already, and I encourage you to resist that. When a university bans a speaker, what's your response? The University of Manchester banned me, what was the response? What was the appropriate response to that? Build a wall! We're in the business solely for the purposes of this metaphor. We're in the business of opening up walls. What's the appropriate response? The appropriate response is jubilation. The appropriate response is joyousness. The appropriate response is celebration. Because what has happened? Can somebody tell me what has happened? What happens when you ban a speaker? What are you admitting? You're afraid of what they might say. You are a fascist. Or perhaps you can't win the argument, which might be why Sky News can't find anyone to debate me anymore. It's true. I'm here for a month. They're desperate to get me on. Nobody will go on with me. When my DePaul lecture was cancelled, and I have to tell you, this is very, I've just got to say, I don't endorse this kind of behaviour whatsoever. I found it very childish and totally unnecessary. But when DePaul banned me, their Facebook rating, I want you to consider how seriously universities treat their Facebook rank, their social media presences. Well, it turned out that having gone from about 4.6 out of 5, DePaul quickly found itself rated 1.1 out of 5. Do you know what they did? On Memorial Day, they hid the ratings from their Facebook account. This is, it's amazing, but anyway. This is, of course, DePaul University, the private Catholic university, which perhaps has the most enthusiastic abortion advocates anywhere in America. But that's a conversation for another time. I would encourage you, in all things, wherever possible, to trigger as many people as you can. And I say this not because I want you to go around upsetting these jellyfish snowflakes, these wallflowers, these people who think words are the same as violence, these people who, was it Rutgers University? They had a therapy session for people who were so traumatized by my presence on campus that they required group therapy 2 weeks later. And they weren't even at my talk. These are people who weren't even at my talk, but they were so scared of a gay guy with the wrong opinions that they demanded group therapy involving the university principal, the vice president, the student societies, the police, the local counselling services, the state healthcare provider, all for these quivering wallflowers. And they're amazing. I encourage you to look. I work for a US libertarian conservative site called Breitbart, and many of the more UKIP members of the room will know it. I have persuaded them. I said, I'm too modest really to ask for this myself, so I asked for it via a member of staff. I said, it might be a good idea if there was a sort of space for all the stuff buying about me. So then there is no one, so brightbulb.com/Milo. I encourage you to check it out because we do occasionally publish amazing pictures, and there's an amazing picture from Pittsburgh University of this guy who wasn't at my talk and who went to a sort of debrief therapy session afterwards. And he's this like gigantic, like jacked football player sobbing into a microphone. He's got these pink eyes, and he's like holding the microphone like this. Because I said free speech was quite a good thing. Anyway, this is what we're up against, so I hope you're ready for the fight. I hope you are. I think you probably are. I, as the great introduction suggested, have become known, because I call myself it, as the most fabulous supervillain on the internet. I'm not responsible for the nickname Kanye West of journalism, which I like to. I'll take it. It's very hot up here. But I think I have become a sort of a supervillain for the internet because they can't beat me with argument. They can't beat me with reason. They can't beat me with fact or logic or words. They can't beat me with their usual identity politics. They can't beat me a racist, a sexist, a homophobe, a transphobe. Well, maybe they can call me that. So they sort of bomb out of the argument and either ban me on Twitter. Or do any number of other things to try to reduce my influence, but it doesn't work because they're forgetting something that the left invented once upon a time called the Streisand effect. So thank you very much to all as a little treaty to you, and a warning to British feminists and British losers and weirdos thinking of trying to ban conservative and libertarian speakers. When you do that, you do so much more for us than you can possibly imagine. Now. With no disrespect to the previous speaker, it isn't enough that you have shown up here tonight. It isn't enough that you've come here with willing. You have not really done anything yet. You've merely shown up and been enormously entertained by my wonderful speech. What you have to do now is not make the mistake that conservatives and libertarians have made in the past, believing that showing up to talks and writing essays is the same as doing something. The left understands that it is not. The left understands there's more to it than that. The left understands you have to start university departments, fund magazines, all sorts of things. So I would encourage you in your career choices, many of you are interested in politics and journalism, I encourage your career choices to do something instead of talking about something. This is why I will have been on probably 100 college campuses in 12 months by next January, because it is important to go out and do something. And when you do something, it scares them. When you do something, they think, oh, we weren't expecting you to fight back. We thought we bullied you into submission with these big words ending in phobic. And when you go, you walk out and say, no. It works really quite well, try it. It really works quite well. So I've got one last secret and then I'm going to wrap up. I wasn't planning that, I just thought it gross. One of the things that people always ask me is sort of how I do it, how do I know the left so much? And there is an extent to which I'm merely a product of a happy accident, you know, I'm like a fag, and I've got the British accent, and I love blacks, and you basically can't get me on sexism, racism, or any of the normal stuff. Also, there's a bit of my brain missing that's supposed to make me afraid, it's supposed to make me ashamed of desperate attention-seeking and theatrics. There's a bit of my brain that's missing that makes me, you know, afraid of things or offended by anything. And that's all helpful, but the real thing I do, and the thing I encourage you to go forward and do yourselves, is I use facts and I use data. And the facts and data, whether they are about the impending cultural apocalypse from our friends in the Middle East swarming into our countries and throwing gay people off buildings or shooting up nightclubs or asking women to cover up, whether it is Brexit, whether it is immigration, whether it is any of the other things, the facts are no longer on the left side, nor is the fun. So have fun, tell the truth, never stop laughing at these people. These people deserve to be laughed at. These people deserve to be ridiculed off their pedestals because they are preposterous. And the values that will serve you best, which Americans don't have, are British values. And they are conviction, they are bravery, camaraderie, critical thinking, and pride. You know, I sometimes say in America, when I'm speaking to American audiences, that, you know, there's nothing wrong with being proud to be American. There's nothing wrong with patriotism for an American because America is a country based on values, you know? So what we're really saying as a patriotic American is you believe in the First and Second Amendments, free speech, and constitution, all the rest of it. England has a slightly longer and slightly bloodier history, which has to be accommodated and one has to reconcile himself with. But it is a great country. It is a wonderful country. It is a country taking a huge... characterized by resilience, perseverance, independence of spirit, and also by joy, by mischief, by dissidence, by subversion. We have the best press in the world because it is the most mischievous and decadent, and it is the press that politicians fear the most anywhere in the world. In France, people don't publish things about French politicians. It's all not really done. In America, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. That could never happen here. David Cameron, or whoever it was, Theresa May now. See if I can free advertise. Theresa May was too terrified to be in a room. Can you imagine Theresa May in a room of 400 journalists? It would never happen. We've got the best press because we've got the most mischievous press. And I encourage you to use the tools at your disposal as warriors in the new counterculture. And that is, as I said, mischief, dissidence, naughtiness, subversion. All of these things win wars.